Good morning, everybody. Thank you very much for joining Open Minds today. And before I start, I would like to wish everybody a very happy Ganesh Chaturthi. And also thank you for taking out time on a very auspicious occasion. Today is also a very auspicious occasion because after 13 sessions, in the 14th session, we are having the first lady to talk to us. So I would like to specially welcome Mrs. Anindita Sinha for taking time out to address Open Minds on a very busy day, I would say. And also to all the participants for again taking out your time today. Let me introduce Mrs. Anindita Sinha. She is today the head of corporate communications at L&T Metro Rail Hyderabad Limited. And besides that, she has worked extensively in the public sector, undertakings such as the Airport Authority of India, global conglomerates like the GVK Group, GMR Group, and she is, as I said, currently with L&T. She excels in integrated communications, reputation management, and strategy formation, and having a proven track record of effective crisis communicator, which I think today is the need of the hour. Crisis communication is something which is right on top of everybody's mind. And as a spokesman, she has been extremely impactful. She writes quite well, and she has shouldered many responsibilities besides her professional career. She has shouldered the responsibility of co-chair of ASSOCHAM's National Ease of Doing Business Council. She is presently for the CIA Telangana, the chairperson for Culture and Tourism Council. She is also in the core council member of CII's Indian Women Network, and also is the co-chair of Federation of Telangana Chamber of Commerce's Infra, Smart City and Real Estate Council. And the list goes on that she's also the chairperson of Public Relations Council of India, Hyderabad chapter. Obviously, with so much responsibility, she has also won a number of awards, and with experiences, business excellence, CSR, and the best part is she's also the president of the internal committee of her company for prevention of sexual harassment for women. So it gives me great pleasure in welcoming her. And as always, we will have a question answer session after she completes her talk. And thank you very much for joining. And I present to you Mrs. Anindita Sinha. All yours.
Okay. Good morning to everyone. First of all, I thank Tempest for giving me this opportunity to address all the audience here. And of course, the audience here, thank you for, thinking that you should log in and hear me out. I'm really blessed and thankful to you all. And today on this auspicious day, I wish everyone a very happy and peaceful Ganesh Chaturthi. The topic is very close to my heart, communication. And today we are going to see how powerful, relevant communication is to and business, and communication is definitely an integral part of any business. The art of communication, it is said, is the language of leadership, the language of a business. And leadership establishes and carries a business forward, a brand forward. Communication, we generally say that the art of communication. Does it mean that it falls under the arts category? I personally feel, and many experts also do, that it is a blend of art and science. Like art is an expression of application of one's creative skill and imagination. Science is the intellectual and practical activity covering the systematic study of the subject. We all know this. This is more or less a Google definition. Communication is a subject that encompasses both art and science for inventive, resourceful, and methodical conclusions. So that is the power and importance of communication. Communication, we all know that it is two ways. one thing I must say, that the subject communication was important throughout, but it did not bring in, come into the light as it is being done nowadays over the past some years. Even government organizations, they are establishing a corporate communication or a PR department, because they feel that to keep the reputation intact, you definitely need a communication department, a communication training for the senior leadership, and also a communication set team, because corporate communication is nothing but the reputation custodian of a company. So they can build up a brand, if not dealt in a very meticulous way, they can spoil a brand. So communication is important, especially during crisis. We know the situation which is going on. So even you have seen that Prime Minister, our Honorable Prime Minister, also is communicating with the public at large over in periodical intervals. So that is what communication is all about. It can break a brand, it can make a brand. Communication generally, all know it is two ways. It should be two ways. Speaking of, there's this also financial system. His name is Dan Oswald. In a very means honest, open, and two ways. Because in the time of social media, digital media, everything is out. We all know that everything has become public now. So it has to be very transparent. It has to be very transparent. There is no way that you can hide some fact. It has to come out. So he defined in a very nice way that it should be hot, honest, open, and two ways. Your communication, if I on a broader category, if I category on a broader scale, it should be your internal customer and your external communication and internal communication. Both are very important. Both are very crucial. First, one needs to, any company, to set up to ensure that the communication goes very seamless to all the stakeholders, external or internal. They should first identify the stakeholders first. It so happens that communication gets mixed up. It becomes one generic for internal and external. But if you really see a very classy and very strategic company, then the stakeholders are identified, and then you classify them into specific with specific planning, that this should be the communication strategy for our internal stakeholders, which can be employees, partner companies, your JVs, and for external people like agencies, vendors, customers, government. Like for us, the main customers, because I'm from Metro Rail, so that is our internal customer kitty we really focus on. Let me tell you one thing, many companies don't realize this, but this is proven over the past number of years, that the best brand ambassadors for a company can be your employees. People invest a lot of money on celebrities and all, but then again, as I said, that it's a very open platform nowadays. So the employees, your partners, your vendors, they are the best brand ambassadors. From the internal and external communication perspective. So the company should address targeted stakeholders very effectively, and approach differs accordingly for internal and external stakeholders. Maybe with internal stakeholders, you can be less formal, but when you're going outside, you have to be extremely formal and very strategic and very professional. Because, see, all these are part of your business. They get your business to grow up. So great communication begins with connection. Any good communication professional should have a very nice network, which is very important, starting from the management of the company, with the government or the communication head or the team, with the media, with your other customers. So the connection with the trade bodies should be very, very strong. So great communication begins with connection. And once you define your customers, then you start connecting. And communication skill should be smart, technically stylish. Nowadays, this traditional way of writing, the style is little going off the trend now. So it is little stylish writing, modern writing, smart writing, and sticking to the plan. So many times the press releases which a company issues, you will find that it's a 2-pager. You really don't need to, and then you complain that the coverage did not come. So it has to be very precise, sticking to the plan, and very stylish. And you should know, the company should know how to pitch for the idea what they are trying to sell to the external world. More than what to say, what not to say should be mastered. There is the trick of communication. We say, but we don't know what not to say. Because what happens is, typically when in the flow of your talk, you say something which you don't realize. Here I remember a very nice quote of George Bernard Shaw. He said, the single biggest illusion in communication is the illusion that it has taken place. So the biggest illusion is that the illusion has taken place. We don't even realize that we have said something. The damage is done. So we have to be extremely cautious in what not to say. Communication has a perception of being very simple. You just say what you feel and it's all straightened out. However, actual meaning of communication is lost in the interpretation and the translation of it. How you project, how you present, art. So the strategy goes behind, the science goes behind, and then comes the art. How you project it. Communication strategy should be drawn out depending on the vision and mission of the company. This is very, important on a broader spectrum, I'm saying. It has to be, because, if you're believing something, if your vision is something, and your act or your strategy for communication is, it doesn't match, it's not on the same page, then public pick it up. And of course, according to the immediate need, it has to be customized. Maybe a product launch or a sudden crisis comes. So it has to be customized as per the trend, as per the time, as per the situation. It has to be customized, but broadly, it has to match the vision and mission. Without the power of communication to bolster work environment, employees are more likely to decrease their productivity level. Generally, this is seen. Effective communication makes a brand and helps sustain it. This is very important. You make a brand, but many companies don't, focus on sustaining the brand. Suppose you launch a product. Whatever the product is, it can be your retail, it can be FMG, it can be even B2B companies. They are selling their concept as a product. While I remember when I used to work for Hyderabad airport, we came out with a campaign. It's a B2B business. We came out with a campaign. Why I'm saying B2B with the passengers, mostly the airline directly, airline customers are the passengers. So we came out with a campaign called Fly Via Hyderabad. So we took a B2C approach to bring up our business through communication. We used to go to different, two-tier cities like Pune, Bhopal, Indore, Raipur, Bhubaneswar, and we used to go across, call for press conference, call for meetings with the travel fraternity, and explain them what is the benefit of traveling via Hyderabad. Instead, you travel via so-and-so companies. It's an integrated airport. You don't have to change the terminal. You have your, free port. So there are different things. But what I'm trying to say is, even B2B companies, they sell their concept as a product. You don't have to launch a product in this physical sense. The concept of the product. So without the, also sustaining is very important. Communication skills for success leadership should adopt. They should the skills should be adopted by the leadership. Nowadays, you will find many companies, they get external faculties to teach them, to make them media trained, how to face an interview, how to even the boardroom. There are courses now which are coming up to train you to be boardroom savvy. That is also very important. We never thought of all these concepts, and it is so nice that in the field of communication these concepts are coming forward for innovation, and in a very innovative way, in a very dynamic. It's becoming even more dynamic. So for the skills one which the leader should adopt is how to communicate with its stakeholders, be it government, be it your internal stakeholders, be it external. Listening. Being a good listener is one of the best ways to be a good communicator. This more or less we all know, because when we we listen to reply, we don't listen to understand. I mean, generally it is said, but we fail to master the art. Even I do. So prepare the brief correctly and crisply. Here comes the role of the corporate communication head to make the senior management media ready for the external world. If you're if you're addressing, be it your social media platforms, be it your live interviews, your press conferences, the brief should be correct and very crisp. There is no time people have now for sissies, to be very, very frank. It should be clear, crisp, short. Mostly thinking and listening don't align for the audience, because we listen only approximately about 100 to 125 words per minute, while our brain can utilize up to 3000 words per minute during thinking. Hence, we have to always keep the audience in mind while communicating, that your message reaches the audience and then they are convinced, especially if it's a product launch or even if any announcements, any press conferences. So it is not that you go, you address and you come back. What is more important is that your intention, your pitch should be that the audience are convinced by what you wanted to say on that particular day. This, I'm talking about how you speak. Non-verbal communication, your body language, your eye contact, hand gestures, tone of the voice, all color the message you are trying to convey. You will, everyone cannot be a very good communicator, and there is nothing wrong in it. But when you're addressing a public conference, your voice should be full of conviction. To believe in what you are launching, there should be absolute clarity and there should be sincerity in it. Because if you're trying to sell off something which you don't believe yourself, then psychologically, emotionally, you become shaky. And audience is very smart nowadays. They immediately pick it up. So it is very important. This applies especially when you're addressing this, as I said, press conference, live interviews. When one goes live, there is no opportunity for a retake. It's not, you go to a studio and you record your interview and then it is on air. So that is very important. Clarity and concision and choice of words. Our words can influence people positively and negatively. Brevity is very important in communication. Choosing of the right words, especially when you're writing a press conference. Instead of flowery, ornamental language, stick to the word, stick to the right English. It's very important. Brevity. Brevity is very important. A country's government can, and we have seen in the past also, it can fall, or the leadership can turn turtle in an organization if word selection is not taken seriously and communication is not taken seriously. No matter what your intent or your emotion is, when you're facing the public, stakeholders, one has to be extremely cautious because you have a huge responsibility there to play. Friendliness, you cannot have a very, a tough face, a very serious face. No, it has to be friendliness laced, amiable demeanor. It is very important. Confidence, empathy when you're communicating, open-mindedness, respect when someone is asking something. You cannot just cut you cannot be rude. We have seen many places where press conferences went into a disaster, and the next day, it was a tsunami of negative coverage because of the way, maybe the press or the audience was snubbed. Feedback, very important. For the leadership, feedback is extremely important, and a corporate communication head, executive, please don't hesitate in giving feedback in a modest way. Yes, you cannot run onto your boss and say you spoke very bad. No, not that. Rather, develop a strategy, develop the points. Instead of saying you could not do this, go and note down the points, because it is expected that you will be an expert. That these are the things you should, one should follow in the next press conference. Picking the right medium, language, channels, etc. Which channels you are using, which is appropriate for which communication. Not every time you don't need to go for suppose for launch of a product, TV commercials is very expensive. So you have to very prudently choose the channel through which you want to communicate. And this applies for regional media and addressing people at the grassroots level. Suppose you are an agri product, you want to go and market, you want to go for a press conference with the regional media. You cannot go with big English jargons and your Harvard or Oxford English. No, you have to connect. Connecting with the customers is extremely important. You have to connect from here to here to here. That is very important. Then your product becomes a success. I'll come to the internal communication. Leadership communication style have a huge impact when it comes to motivating employees and empowering them to their best work. Good companies, they don't only have employees, they nurture employees, they train employees, they develop employees into successful professionals, educated professionals. And by education, I don't mean qualification here. Professionally educated, and empower so that the best output comes. As mentioned, in the International Journal of Management and Business Studies, it's mentioned that great communication can not only help teams to complete their projects successfully, but also help the organization to achieve success, growth, even profit. It's very important. Productivity grows up. The profit grows up. Acknowledgement is very important. Even when all cannot be considered for pay rise or promotions, in intervals. Oh, fantastic. If it is not done, as you go and say that this is not what I wanted and this is not the way. Similarly, even if it's a good work, never shy, never a company, the leadership, this is mostly for us, even your fellow, your peer group in the company, your fellow colleagues, never hesitate to compliment someone. It means a lot. Another very bad, system we have, very informal, very colloquial writing email of emails. When you're writing an email, it should be stylish writing. You cannot write as you are talking to your team members or your employees. It should be different. Many times I have seen emails coming with 2-3 question marks, bold, red. I really don't understand, and actually it doesn't really yield any result. Even if you could have written in a normal, not in uppercase, not in bold, not with those 3 question marks still. Because when you're writing that, which means that you are not happy with something, you want to give your feedback. It still would work. Trust me. One does not have to use bold, red, 3 question marks, 4 exclamation to communicate something. It is just, you are venting out your anger, your displeasure. It doesn't really take you anywhere, or the person to whom you're sending, the way you're sending, it becomes, either irritated, frustrated, or scared. So productivity gets impacted. So even in today's disturbed, collaborative workplaces, we still look into our team leaders, not just for what they bring to the collective effort, but for how they convey it with confidence, encouragement, expertise, decisiveness. which is very important. You cannot vacillate. You say something today, you say something tomorrow. No, because you may not remember. Many people do, because you are one single person saying something you may not remember, but you're telling it to 100 people. So among 100, 80 can definitely remember. And there the level of respect comes down. Communication also should be experimented by the trends. Now this COVID situation, no one expected this to happen. So here, if a company, all the sectors have impacted really, really bad. I mean, transportation to agriculture to retail, FMCG, every possible sector, MSMEs, real estate, every sector. Now, every company, they had their communication strategies. Here, you need to customize. The situation is different. It's a different crisis altogether. Even if you're having your business continuity plan, your crisis manual, still, something so different, you need to customize. You should go by the trend. Here is the time where one should think of collective effervescence, all speaking the same language. I remember I read, once, I'll give you two, three examples. Michelle Obama, she believes that communication should be authentic, humorous, and humane. Human approach really it impacts a lot. She feels that both perfect composer and tend towards off the cuff candor is necessary in leadership communication. You cannot be very straight faced and very serious all the time. People don't take you seriously, trust me. Even if you feel that, if I'm serious, people will take me seriously. No, there has to be a balance. A balance for better should be maintained. So communicating off the cuff candor, authenticity is very important. So sound convincing and not made up or shaky. This is very important, which I spoke earlier as well. Also, your target audience should see the human angle in you. Very important to connect with them and command respect. Because end of the day, the best way to develop credibility is to command respect, to have respect. And she wrote this in her memoir, Becoming, which is an interesting read. If you'll get time or want to, or like her speaking, you can read. Coming back to our country, when we talk about human angle, the first person, at least I remember, is Ratan Tata. How philanthropy made him sensitive. In fact, his recent comment when there were, hundreds and thousands of layoffs were happening, he said that it is very insensitive on part of the companies to lay off their employees, whether they are going on furlough or retrenchment or layoff during COVID, because everyone is impacted negatively. Again, he ways is here, but it has put him even on a higher pedestal. Hence, reaffirming the brand Tatas. Another example I'll give you of Cassandra Brent Brown. She's a phenomenal lady. She's around 52, I think, but she has really in the picture. She's a professor, author, podcast, very successful podcast host. She says, seek strength and vulnerability. She feels vulnerability is often associated with weakness, but according to her, the opposite is true. If you see the documentary The Call of Courage on Netflix, you'll come to know. It provides a valuable perspective for those looking to hone their leadership communication skills. She believes in chancing new initiatives and testing ideas, really take you somewhere on a positive note, on a improvised note. And honestly, it is very important in communication. I mentioned earlier, Indra Nui, we all know about her. She says, don't pretend it's okay if it is not. Be very transparent, be truthful. You don't necessarily have to go and spill out everything. Suppose during a crisis, you necessarily don't have to, spill the beans about your company, everything. But similarly, don't say something which is not truth. Don't lie. This is very important, especially in crisis communication. Leadership should come forward and be visible to give confidence to public at large. I remember, there was one Virgin Atlantic air crash. So as all the crisis communication, were taking place, as all the operational measures were being taken fair, Richard Branson came forward. He was there somewhere in his vacation. He flew to the destination. He stood before the camera. He apologized, said sorry, and accepted that there was a glitch. There was a technical glitch. We are extremely sorry, and of course, the compensation came forward. I mean, nothing can be compensated compared to human life, but anyway. So visibility is very important. Leaders who are very, very confident about their business, about their strategies, about themselves, they come forward and face. But then again, you need to build a brand over the period of time. You cannot just open a Facebook page after the crisis. No. Build up a community. The base should be very strong. The threshold should be very strong. And that happens over the years. Not reacting. Leadership, there is a difference between leading and reacting. Where things go wrong is mostly we become reactors, but we don't try to be leaders. People who are leaders, they carry a brand with maintaining the credibility and also taking it long in the future. I remember when I was the spokesperson for Mumbai airport, there was a Turkish Airways crash. It veered off the runway, and anyway, the airport was shut for 3.5 to 4 days. It was something really very of big importance. Airport like Mumbai being shut for 3 days. So from the time it happened, we activated the media center, and regular update to the media, to the public at large. From the airport airline perspective, airline part, they went and spoke to the families. They maintained, they followed their normal SOPs. But what we did was, fortunately or unfortunately, I was the only person to handle. My immediate supervisor had left the company, so I was handling it all by myself, and I was a spokesperson. It's a huge responsibility, but only through transparency, through authentic information and timely information. People could see our face, people could see us very clearly, continuously, and that did not give us any negative publicity. Starting from BBC, in fact, you can, if you Google Anindita Sinha spokesperson, you can see those news clips also. So starting from BBC, you see a neutral way of news making. You'll find the statement of facts, but nothing negative about it. So this is where the leadership, whether it's a high-tech business, it's an aviation infrastructure. So it should be a very relevant communication, and a very powerful communication, especially during crisis. And your target audience, to your target audience who hears you, it has to be very impactful. It's not that what you are saying only. You have to also think that what they want to hear from you. That is very important, not what only you want to say. So there has to be a blend of what you want to say and what they want to hear. And there comes the strategy against science. You should know what your customers want from you. Leveraging the consumer's universe, storytelling is the in thing now. Now, if you have seen that even the TVCs, the way of communication has changed. There are no more, a static ad or just, telling you to, with a song telling you to buy a soap. There is a story behind. Try to follow. Try to, be a little observant. Nowadays, TVCs have stories. If you're selling a product, advertising a product, you do it through a story. Humane stories, health-oriented stories, women empowerment, child education. A storyboard is there. So storytelling has become the new trend, the new art. And digital mediums, one has to explore and exploit in a very, very effective way, but in a delicate way. Because it can again, it can make huge impact to your brand, but it can also Twitter something you have to be very, very careful about, because it just becomes earth-shattering at times. communication and the customers, changing mindset to garner the credibility towards the company or the product. And this is how you build a brand. Your communication, how it becomes a very integral part of your business or your brand. And this should be in a well thought about manner and with phase wise planning. Nothing is, it's not a rocket science, but it is not instant Maggi noodles also. Can a brand grow without communicating with its audience? I personally, at least being a communication professional, I feel it can grow communicating with its audience. Because audience is what? Your customers. I'll give you a small example. In how communication can and how strategy can come into for a success of a product launch. Once Nestle launched a coffee in Japan, but failed at it. And one of the reasons they later realized is Japan being a predominantly tea consuming nation. So Nestle did everything correct when it came to launching their product in the country. I mean, I'm talking about communication, marketing strategy, business development part of it. Everything they did it in a very nice way. They are a very experienced company. They priced it right. They tested it well with their intended audience, connecting with the customers, but still failed. Then they realized that the main reason was people didn't have any memory and story about coffee and had no emotional bond with it. What I just said, storytelling is the new way of communication. You have to develop an emotional bond. You have to tell a story. You have to connect it with something good, something positive. So what did Nestle do? They did not spend again millions on direct advertisement. No, they didn't do that. Okay, change the way of we advertise. How did they communicate? They communicated through a scientific way. They launched coffee flavored candies and chocolates in the Japanese market and communicated to the younger audience. The thought process behind it was, when these children will grow up, they would have fond memories of childhood associated with the coffee. So just think how ahead they're thinking ahead. And that is exactly what happened. The popularity of these coffee candies also had a secondary effect on the parents who ended up testing the coffee flavor out of curiosity. So, while testing and tasting them, they developed the palate for the coffee. And of course, it happened over the years. After almost 15 years, it was a huge gap. Of course, it's not possible for every brand, but just an example, communication relaunched the market in the marketing strategy, relaunched the communication, they relaunched their coffee in the Japanese market, and they were extremely welcomed with open arms by the kids who grew up eating coffee flavored candies. So how coffee came into the life of Japanese people? They identified the root cause of the problem and went for it with full force and lot of patience. So experimenting with ATL and BTL can bring in desired result. You just have to experiment, you have to be innovative, and you have to understand the market and the science behind communication, the strategy. Here comes the strategy, here comes the science. A balanced and well-strategized communication can reach the hearts and minds of the stakeholders. As I said, it should connect here. It should connect here. How communication very well can be turned for a company into a positive, from a negative to a positive. I'll give you another example. American Red Cross Society. Once what happened, American Red Cross faced a more light-hearted crisis, I would say. One evening, following a tweet appeared on their Twitter account. It was by mistake by a employee. So she just wrote, Ryan found two more 4-bottle packs of Dogfish Head's Bidders Touch beer. When we drink, we do it right. Hashtag getting slizzard. It was by mistake. Instead of the tweet was shared by an employee, social media specialist of the company. She used to handle the company's account. By mistake, instead of posting in her private account, he posted by mistake in the company account. and that too on the Twitter account. The organization could have faced repercussion from its followers. It had to be merely, if it had merely deleted and tweet after 1 hour later and ignored it, they didn't choose to do that. They turned the challenge into opportunity. The Red Cross decided to take a humorous approach. As I said, what Michelle Overner said, that you have to add humor to your communication. Not every time you have to be the straight-faced serious person. They took a humorous approach to the crisis with the following tweet: "We have deleted the rogue tweet, but rest assured that Red Cross is sober and we have confiscated the keys of the dispenser." Even Dogfish Head Company, the brewery who made the beer, who manufactured the beer, they jumped into the conversation, encouraging people to use the hashtag Getting Slizzard, which that employee did, and donate to the American Red Cross. In all, the incident brought more attention to the American Red Cross and enjoyed a spike in donation. The organization's lighthearted response to the situation, rather than issuing a formal public apology, a cut and dry, a very boring, we apologize for what has happened, or taking a more serious stance, showed customers that even the largest organization make human mistakes. The human angle came forward, and the communication strategy was so well handled that the challenge became an opportunity. Similarly, once Pepsi in '93 faced serious allegations about safety of its product. Some scandal broke out. Some elderly couple who claimed to have found a syringe in their Diet Pepsi can. So over the course of week, many reports came out, various objects being found in Pepsi cans, and how it happens. Once you say, some will say, "Oh, I found a pen, I found a needle, I found something." In response, Pepsi released a 4-part video campaigning showing the exact process, how Pepsi, the production happens. They did not say no, they did not counter, they did not come forward to say, no, we are a credible brand. Rather, they came out with this video campaign to say how the production happened. These videos prove there was no opportunity that a can be tampered. And some chat messages are coming. I'm sorry, I'm not just being little attentive towards it. I hope someone is taking care of it. So what they did was they showed that the can in the entire production cannot be tampered with before it was delivered to a store. Additionally, Pepsi got its hands on a security video showing a woman in some place inserting a syringe into a can just to jeopardize tarnish the image of the brand at a grocery store. So this confirmed to the consumers that Pepsi was innocent of the crime which committed then, which the allegation came forward. And after that, Pepsi, confirming internally that the business was not at all responsible or was at fault, they took an effective defensive approach through its communication, rather than claiming their innocence and leaving room for controversy. And a very nice way, the company even brought a print ad with the headline, "Pepsi proud to introduce ellipsis ... nothing." Pepsi proud to introduce nothing. Again, a humorous attempt to move on from the incident. That is the power of communication. That is the power of how you change the, you turn the opportunities, challenges into opportunities. So, it should be, so there are different innumerable examples this way. If some, whether it is a product launch, it's a brand launch, it's a, it's a B2B announcing some initiative, some announcement. So what is more important is the leadership should be ready with a very convincing way of to connect with the customers, which can leave a very positive impact on the people. So that is called powerful communication. By powerful communication, you really don't have to shout your lungs out. You really don't have to speak on a very high pitch to convince someone. You can convince someone with with the what you speak in a very, it should have conviction. People should feel that you use the product. If you must have seen nowadays that many celebrities, they have stopped endorsing products if they don't use it or if they don't believe in it. So if you believe in it, you are transparent, you are proud, you are confident about your product, and the senior leadership is ready for communication. They are prepared, they are trained, they are nurtured. Some are born speakers, not everyone. There are very many top MDs and CEOs, very successful in their business, but they are very poor communicators. I don't want to name someone, but of an airline, MD of an airline, he was a really a very very poor communicator, but one of the stalwarts of the business. He took the he just his airline really literally and figuratively soared in the aviation world, but he was a very poor communicator. But does that mean that he does not know business? Of course not. He did. And there are many such things. There was one power company, again I don't want to mention, it's not right. They went so extremely wrong with their communication that it went to a riot. It went to police firing the protesters, people getting killed, and ultimately the plant is shut. The entire strategy, the communication. I was speaking to one of their very senior communication consultant. So at times it is difficult. It's not very easy to convince the MD or CEO of a company. They feel that they are in a position that they know what to do. It does not come on one day. But there comes the role of a communication department, communication person, and a PR person to train. It takes, corporate communication, very sadly, unfortunately, is considered to be only a cost center, because it's not a revenue generator for sure. So many people, they don't take seriously. However, the positive part is, starting from government to private companies to any business unit, they have started keeping a PRO for them, PR person for them, to take care of the reputation, to announce to the world what they are doing, and that they are extremely business-minded and very credible company. So that is also a positive part. So communication should be creative yet relevant, with structured strategies, defined goals, engineering of content. It has to be engineered around. Otherwise, you cannot just have a very flat and only arty thing. And finally, a precise art form of beautiful scientific procedures. We cannot deny that there is science behind everything, mostly. And here also, science plays a very major role here. The process, scientific procedure. It doesn't mean you have to be a BSc graduate for that. The how you do it, how you strategize, how the language should be, resulting into one common objective, an effective communication process, an integral part of any business. Effective communication is definitely an integral part of any business, be it your internal stakeholders, be it your external stakeholders, customers, anyone. If you want to run a business, even if you do not believe in having a PR entity or a corporate communication department, but communication definitely is very important in a scientific way, in an arty way, for the development, growth, and sustenance of a business. Thank you so much.
Great. Anindita, thank you very much for that extremely lucid presentation. I must say that everybody, from my experience, I can say that everybody thinks that communication is something which everybody can do because he or she can speak a language. But I think the art and science of communication is something which has to be nurtured, which has to be developed. And I think people in the communication fields, and especially I think people in the advertising agencies, have to keep this in mind, that it is very, very critical that you have to communicate properly and you have to communicate very well. And just to give you an example of what you mentioned, that how communication can create profits for the company, and just like how you did not mention the names of the company, we were handling customer relations for a company, a very large multinational, and they introduced a product called cake mix in India. And since we were handling the customer side of the business, one lady from India wrote to us that, can I make this cake in my pressure cooker? Because in India, we do not have ovens. We have pressure cooker in almost every single home in India. And this was picked up, and the company came up with the pressure cooker cake mix for the first time in the world in India. And today it's a multi-crore business for the company. So
Absolutely.
If communication was not there, if the company did not listen, then this whole opportunity would have been lost.
Yes, absolutely.
I firmly believe that communication is critical, and I like one particular thing very much, which I always tell my people is, if you think anybody tells you that communication is not important, just ask them one simple question, which is, try doing business without communication or advertising. There is not a single business, whether you call it word-to-mouth communication or formal, informal communication, without which business is just not possible. So it's great to listen to you. And now I would like...
Communication is one thing which starts from the moment you open your eyes in the morning till you close your eyes to go to sleep. You first communicate with yourself. Then people who are a little spiritual, they communicate with God, or any super form they believe in. Then to the family members, to the domestic health, then to office, then to your friends. So communication, if you really see, we don't take it seriously. But and one, you go a little wrong, the day is gone. The day is really and leaves you in a really bitter taste. So communication is really important part. In fact, as you mentioned in my profile, that I took over as a chapter for Public Relations Council of India, and here again I would say networking. So these platforms are extremely useful for networking and gathering ideas. How are you meeting different people from the advertisement world, the PR world, from the media, mainline media, be it print, channel, so digital experts. So the more you go and interact, the more you network, the more you want to learn, more you develop in your communication skills.
Sure. So now I would like anybody else who would like to ask a question or express a particular view, please unmute yourself and go ahead. There were a lot of compliments on the chat. There weren't any questions, but there were a lot of compliments, people agreeing with you on the various examples which you have given. And
Thank you so much.
I was very happy that people were so involved in this presentation.
Thank you.
Looks like you have been pretty clear, and on a day when people are busy doing puja, they have taken out so much time for this particular talk. In case my colleague Sandhya is there and her connection is okay, can I request her to propose the vote of thanks? Sandhya?
Surab. Thank you, Anandita. That was very helpful, and you made it very interesting and with lot of punctuated with lot of your experiences. As the great man once said, People do not buy products and services, they buy dreams, passions, and that's why we are in advertising, that's why we are in communication. Only thing, it's changed a bit these days. We have to enter the other people's universe, and because people are very informed, it's the platforms are different, but the ideas are the same. So thank you very much once again for all those insights. I'm sure it will be useful for us as we move forward. Thank you.
Hope so. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, and have a good day. Bye-bye.
Thank you so much, all of you.